Hi, I'm Dominic Roberson, and this is Emotional Behaviors and Disorders. Emotional behavior disorders, it's a very broad category used to describe a very wide range of disabilities and disorders that children might have. It's hard to diagnose these things um, and pinpoint a certain disorder because a lot of disorders have a lot of the same characteristics. In order for a child to be diagnosed, they must consistently show the same behavior and be tested by professionals. Problem is, professionals don't always agree with their colleagues on their diagnoses. I mean, historically, these children have gotten a shorthand. They've been labeled troublemakers and bad kids by teachers and school staff. They've been ostracized by peers and treated badly in school. And it's mostly because of ignorance and lack of information. But now that we have more information on these disabilities and disorders and their signs and ways to, and interventions that we can use, they might have a better chance. Emotional behavior disorders are they're separated in two categories: internal, which includes depression, anxiety, and autism spectrum disorders, and external, which includes things like ADHD and conduct disorders. Depression is a mental disorder. It's characterized by low mood. Um, Also can have self-esteem. This is very serious. In the extreme cases, you can have suicide attempts, cutting, violence of some sort. Some of the symptoms, if your child has low mood, they're just down and out, they're uninterested in things that they've been interested in before, they're not sleeping as much or sleeping more, or they're not eating, you should probably get them checked for depression. Some of the causes, they could be biological, psychological, or it could be social, such as boyfriend or girlfriend breaking up with them, friends being mean at school, things of that nature. Some of the treatments, they can do group therapy, individual therapy, or family therapy with psychiatrists, therapists, psychologists, and such. And there's also medication, such as Abilify, Zoloft, and Prozac. Anxiety is the most common mental illness in America, with 40 million people affected with it. Um, it's a feeling of worry or fear. A small bit of anxiety is normal for everybody, but when it becomes overwhelming, it's anxiety disorder. Some of the types are phobia, general anxiety, social anxiety, which is anxiety in groups, um, obsessive compulsive disorder, post traumatic stress disorder, and panic attack disorder, which is just a full on panic where you can't breathe and you honestly think you're going to die, or in some cases, people pass out. So here's some of the signs and symptoms. I'm not going to go through all of them. It can be mistaken for ADHD and hyperactivity, where the person can't stop moving and they're really tense. They could be restless and crying or breathing heavily. Any of these symptoms could be signs of anxiety. Here's an example I came up with. This is based on a person I know in real life. They have anxiety disorder, struggles with going to school in the morning, and clings to mom. They can't explain what it is that makes them scared about school, but which which makes it difficult for them to use coping techniques. They're restless in class and want to crawl under the desk. It just makes the school environment very difficult. Autism spectrum disorder, it's a very complicated disorder. It affects 2 million Americans, 10 million each year. It's very complicated. It's, you can be on anywhere on this spectrum. Um, the most severe case is autistic disorder. The least severe case is Asperger's syndrome. In the middle is PDD-NOS, which most people with on the spectrum qualify for that. Autism spectrum disorder. Some of the characteristics to watch out for at a young age, such as like before the age of 3, um, communication. If they don't talk before that age, they could be out. They could be have autistic disorder. Um, Social interactions or repetitive behaviors are also signs. Most people on the autism spectrum have social defects. They are very bad with social interactions. They have repetitive behaviors. Some people with autism disorder have cognitive delays too. Scientists are unaware or unknown of what causes this. Here's some of the signs and symptoms. I've went through these. Um, Asperger's is the least severe version on the spectrum. They don't have the cognitive delays, but they do have the repetitive routines, particularities in speech, the inappropriate social behaviors, and Those such things. PDD and NOS. This is right in between, and most people with on the spectrum fall into this category. They show all the same signs, except for they have fewer repetitive behaviors, and there's a later age of onset. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This is broken down into two groups. You could either have inattention or hyperactivity and impulsiveness, or a combination of both. It's a mental disorder and is characterized by these things: hyperactivity, impulsiveness, or inattention. Symptoms usually come before the age of 7. And the symptoms are, of course, lack of attention, hyperactivity, impulsive behavior. This is a very common behavioral disorder. 3 to 5% of children have this, mostly boys. The cause is not known. It could run in the family. Um, Many children with this disability have other developmental problems. Oppositional defiant disorder. This is just people who are defiant children. They will not comply. They throw tantrums, argue. They're very resentful. They blame others. Just very difficult. The causes for this are unknown, and many children have this disorder as well. Thanks for listening to my presentation. If you have children or have seen children in your classroom with any of these symptoms, I would suggest that you research these disabilities further and the symptoms. Thank you.